We welcome David Duchovny to noise11.com. And this is like an episode of The X-Files to me, David, that never happened, where at the end of the show, the FBI agent actually turns out to be the rock star.
It's as surprising to me as it is to you. I guarantee you it was never something that I thought would happen. I mean, I've always been a music lover. I've not been a music creator. I wasn't even a player of any instrument until about 10 years ago, guitar. So it's a third act twist for me too.
It's interesting with Gestureland because when we talk about the musicians, or when you talk about the musicians on this album, you're now talking about them as if it's a band, if it's a solid unit. And some of these guys go way back to the first record in 2015 with you, don't they?
Oh, that's exactly right. So, if I think back to the first album, we were kind of thrown together. And I had a bunch of songs that, in my naive way, I didn't really know what I was doing. I didn't know how to produce a song. I didn't know how to arrange a song. I'm not a good enough player to actually play on the song. I can write them, but I can't record them that way. So we kind of collaborated in making that first album sound. And I think they were very, respectful, or kind of trying to figure out what it is I wanted, when in fact I didn't really know what I wanted. I didn't know how to want in that area. So going to the second album, we started to be more collaborative, kind of flowing back and forth between, them getting, more familiar with me and being able to push me in a certain direction or rewrite me at a certain, whenever, and kind of pitch different ideas, different melodies, things like this. So we really kind of started to become a band, I'd say, through touring and through the second album. And then the third album is really, it's more of a full band collaboration.
I guess like in acting, where the lead actor is sort of the tip of the iceberg, the singer in a band is almost the tip of the iceberg too, isn't it? But, you've got, a whole structure underneath you. Do you see the similarities between the music industry and acting?
I think in the way that you're speaking of it, I think that's right, because it's collaborative. Everybody has a job to do, and without them doing their job, you're not going to have anything resembling a coherent whole, even though the singer out front seems to be getting more attention or whatever. So I think, when I think about producing a song, when I think about arranging a song, it's like every part of that song has to work, even the parts that are buried in the mix, they have to be working. So it's just one big collaboration.
Gestureland must have been an interesting project to make, because this sort of began pre-COVID, and then there was the interruption, and then you sort of reconvened and got back off and finished it off. Did what you start out with in the pre-COVID days end up being the vision of what you've achieved with this record?
We didn't add any new songs over that time, but we did change production. We had a long time to kind of dwell on the demos that we had, because we had 12 demos when we locked down, or 14. And so we could live with them. We knew we weren't going to get back into the studio and be able to make them permanent, or get the orchestration or the background vocals, whatever we needed, for a while. Because you can't get into a studio when COVID's around. I mean, you're basically spreading aerosols when you're making music. That's what it is, So we had a lot of time. We had a lot of time to listen to these songs, and the world was changing. I think necessarily our moods were changing. We started hearing the songs differently, and then maybe pushing them in different directions by the way we started to change the orchestration or the tempo or the whole flavor of the song. So I think having the lockdown, like almost a year to sit with these songs, change them in a way that I think I hope is for the better. I think, but it was a very interesting process.
Well, the album kicks off with Nights Are Harder These Days, and the moment I heard that, I thought this song was made to be played live. Is that how some of the process is when you're going into the studio? You sort of have two sort of categories: the ones that you will play live, and the other ones that are there for the album?
I mean, when you first start, I only had 12 songs when I first started touring, so I played them all live, and then the second time we toured, I had 24 songs, so pretty much played them all as well. So it's not like I have this back catalog that I can go through and just play the rockers, but it's not so much an idea, okay, this is going to be a great live song, but we're aware, once we start making, it's like, oh, this is going to be fun, because we're always like, oh, that's a good first song. That's a good song to come out to. Just that's a first song, and I can't wait to play that as a first song.
You get straight to the point, your lyrics too. I think, if I go back to the previous record, Maybe I Can't, those words, your choice, you choose. And even that opening title, Nights Are Harder These Days, it resonates immediately with an audience.
I mean, I try to take whatever it is personal to me and try to phrase it or translate it in a way, musically and lyrically, that other people can latch onto in a kind of neutral way. I don't want to get in the way of the lyric and try to say, okay, this is my experience, hands off. This is my life. Listen to it. I'm like, how do I make my life everybody's life? I mean, that's the genius of really good songwriting for me. When I was growing up, it's like, oh my God, how did the Beatles write that song about me? How did the Stones write that song about me? They don't even know me. It's like that. So that's my approach. It's like I write personally, but I try to translate it as universal as I can. And, I either succeed or I don't, but that's what I'm trying to do.
On the track Chapter and Verse, lyrically you're telling a story, and I guess having that structure and discipline from acting must have given you a focus, an ability to create a storyline in your songs.
I think of every song as a story, and I say that to the band, and I think that's different the way I come at it than the way they might, because they're real musicians, and I'm like a newcomer. And I'm coming at it from a storytelling aspect, and I try to think of every song as like a play or a movie. And every time the lyrics begin, every time I start to sing a song, it's a different character to me. I mean, I haven't like named them, and I don't know their back history or anything, but in my mind, every song is its own world, its own story, its own character. And so I want it to move. I don't want the kind of consciousness in the first line of a song to be the same as when you get out of it. I want there to have been some kind of a movement. It's not like an aha revelation, my life has changed, but it could be. But it's like I want it to be vital. I don't want it to be just like this symmetrical thing. I want there to have been like a build, and I want there to have been a change. And that's what I'm really looking for when I'm trying to produce or arrange a song. It's like, what gives me that sense that a story has been told, that somebody's gone through something.
You've got various worlds that you live in with the music, with the acting, but also as an author. And then that's crossing over at the moment because Truly Like Lightning, your latest book, is being adapted for, I guess, a movie or a television show. Will you take that discipline of being a songwriter and actually write the soundtrack for your own show, like Truly Like Lightning?
Well, certainly I wouldn't want to hear my voice on the soundtrack when I'm an actor. I think that would be confusing. And I basically, when I write songs, I'm just screwing around with chords on my guitar. I can't write kind of soundtrack type wordless melodies. I wouldn't know how to do it. So no, but certainly I would, in a minute, I'd ask Colin and Pat and Mitch to sit down and score something. I think they're musically gifted. So yeah, they could do that. But I don't think I have the tools to do that.
Where is Truly Like Lightning at the moment?
Well, we're still developing. We're with Showtime, we're going to write a couple scripts, and then hopefully after after those scripts are written, Showtime's going to say, let's go start to shoot it.
Tessera and Laying on the Tracks, they were the first two songs that we got to hear from Gestureland. Laying on the Tracks, the first one that we got to hear leading into the US election. So I take it that was strategically placed as a message just before you all went to vote over there?
Yeah. I mean, not that I was under any delusion that I could sway any kind of mass movement, but I did have this sense of, and I'd never been a very political person. I mean, I kind of live in an artist's world, and, you know, I live in my head, I live in my ideas. I go to set where I play make-believe. You know, I'm not a political, I've never been a politically inclined person, but those 4 years kind of made me obsessing a little bit on what was going on. And I wanted to just go on record as just saying what I saw, you know, not necessarily name calling or any kind of attack or the people that vote for this guy or idiots, nothing like that. It was more like, I wanted to look at it as through a personal way of like, what was it about me that was apathetic before? What was it about me that turned away from other people's suffering? And therefore, you know, taking some responsibility myself for the state of the world, and not just, you know, if you just look at like a broad view of the song, you come away with, oh, it's an anti-Trump song, but it's also, I think, more personal than that.
Musically, you're taking us on a journey through Gestureland, Tessera, Life Call Me When You Land, you know, the sort of the ballad end of this record. There's various speeds to the record, as we talked about before, opening up with the rock song, and then you get down to Mind of Winter, a very dramatic sound. Did you sequence this record so that we had that right along the way?
Well, we kind of try to figure out the right sound for the song, try to suit that, and that we'll play around with tempos and keys and try to figure out what suits that feeling the best, what suits that song best. And then once we have them, and sometimes we'll go, oh, that tempo's too similar to something else we have. But once we have them all, we'll try and, you know, sequence them in a way that is pleasing or also feels like a journey, you know, from track 1 to track 12. It's not a concept album in the sense that there was a conscious desire to take you on a journey from 1 to 12, but sonically, yeah, we do try to alternate tempos and sounds. Mind of Winter is an interesting song to bring up because that was one of those songs that originally it just would like start. And I never like songs that just start. It's like I always jump. And we've had this before. I think on Stranger in the Sacred Heart on the second album, it was like that. And I said, you just gotta like warn me that the song is gonna start. I think it's like hostile when the song is like that. So we put a little synth, or I think we had like drumstick. We had like a 4-count and drumstick on Stranger in the Sacred Heart. So that was that. But it was the same thing on Mind of Winter. I was like, that one, I jump every time that song comes on. And then I said, and they said, well, what, like a synth pad, you know, just like, you know, just like, okay, song's starting. It's like, yeah, but we've done that before. And that's kind of lame. And I said to Colin, I really like the horns that he wrote a chart for the horns on that song in the chorus. I said, can I hear those alone? You know, what if we just put those off the top? And he was like, oh, but I didn't write them, you know, to be naked like that. I just wrote them. I said, I know, but they sound cool. I mean, so I kind of won that battle. I said, let's just put that little horn chart in the beginning, and that'll be the beginning of that song. And then it'll get heavy.
When you do your live shows, it's very interesting because looking at the covers that you've put into your shows along the way, Stay or Heroes by Bowie, Burning for You, Blue Oyster Cult, Lou Reed's Sweet Jane, I think a Tom Petty song, a band song. You've even had Crowded House in there, Don't Dream It's Over. Is this indicative of your personal tastes?
Yeah, only. I mean, it's certainly not the band's taste. They're younger than me. It's really just songs that I love, and just wondering, wow, what would it be like to sing that song? What would it be like to play that song? song like Stay, the Bowie song, is just, it's a very funky tune. So it's like, we don't have a lot of funk. Certainly I don't write funky, you know, I'd love to, but I don't, I can't. I don't play bass, you know, I don't know how to do it. But, you know, I'd like a little funk in my sound. So Stay, I get, you know, I play a little funk there, you know, so that's fun. Crowded House Songs is a beautiful song. And then we cooked that up for the Australia tour. I mean, I thought about, what's that song? That Midnight Oil song, Beds Burning, Beds Are Burning.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to cover that one because I love that song, but we ended up choosing Crowded House, even though it's, I know they're from New Zealand and not Australia, but we figured we were close enough.
It's great having musical heroes. I guess you sort of, there's a nod to one on previous records, positively Madison Avenue, which I guess is more of a dig at Bob Dylan, isn't it, than honouring him?
I mean, Bob Dylan to me is the best singer-songwriter of, you know, singer-songwriters. I mean, since recording. So, but that was really a moment in time, you know, in the sense, it was really, I was at home, I was watching the Super Bowl, and this advertisement came on that Dylan had done for, I think, Chrysler cars or something.
We will build your car.
And it was very kind of jingoistic and American, like American made, and it just struck me as I was sad, you know, and not because, I mean, I believe Bob Dylan should have all the money in the world. I think we should just give him money, you know, whatever he wants. He's a human treasure. There's nobody better. But as somebody myself who grew up, you know, idolizing what I thought about Bob Dylan, which is not true. Bob Dylan is his own man and can do whatever he wants. So it's really about me. You know, it's really about about our, as fans, people's idolization of singer-songwriters, of artists. And, you know, it was just a moment in time of me going, did he really have to do a car commercial? It was really that. And it does not affect my esteem, my estimation of him one iota. You know, I believe, and if you really pour through lyrics, you'll see, you know, I take myself to task. You know, I fucking made millions of dollars from Fox Network, you know, so it's like I'm in a glass house too. So I'm not saying I'm anything better, but it was just like, it'd have to be Bob Dylan. It was like that.
You're 4 novels in now with the Holy Cow, Bucky fucking Dent. That's a difficult one to announce. Miss Subways, and of course, Really Like Lightning that we talked about there. I mean, how much of Hank Moody is in David Duchovny?
Zero. I mean, Hank Moody's the character that Tom Kapanos created before he met me. I think, you know, when you play a role, especially when you play a role for a long time, you just start to intuit it. I wouldn't know how to even answer that question. I mean, I think the things about Hank that I really respect are nothing like me. Like, Hank is way braver than I am in the sense of he'll say what's on his mind, no matter what the consequences are. The things that I admired about Hank, I wish I had in myself, that being the primary one.
Have you had another Australian in that show, Tim Minchin?
I loved working with Tim. He's brilliant. I think he's such a talented guy. He's a great songwriter too, great, clever songwriter and very nice guy. And I know he hadn't done a hell of a lot of acting, but he was great and very generous and sweet. In fact, when I was touring, when I was in Australia, I had breakfast with him. I got to see him. So, and then he did Matilda. You know, he's just such a talented dude,
and a very, very funny man as well.
It's hard to write songs that are searingly political and funny at the same time. There aren't. I mean, Tim is working in an area that. Who works in that area? Was there Tom Lehrer was in that area? I mean, it's like there's nobody else right now that does that. And that's because it's not easy.
One of your upcoming projects is with Judd Apatow, The Bubble. What's the status of that?
That's on Netflix. That'll come out, I don't know exactly when, but I'm assuming around the holidays, Christmas, January.
You're a busy man, David Duchovny.
Sometimes it feels that way. Sometimes I feel like I have nothing to do, but I try and keep working.
Well, I thank you for giving us some of that time today.
Thank you. I appreciate it.